Hello, everybody. Artist and Finesse with you on that most special night of the year. Finesse, it's like Christmas and Hanukkah and Easter and Tu B'Shvat and anything you can imagine that's celebratory, all rolled into one for hometowns.
It's like pretty much a virtual sukkahs in here. I'm shaking my lulav, my etrog. I have one of those weird lemons. I'm throwing it up against the wall with the noisemaker, everything. It's a huge week. Hometowns is huge. We've said it all along. Very little else matters on the show. Hometowns is where it's at. Although I will say to you, I want to get to a couple problems I'm seeing develop with hometowns and sort of how the show handles it. And I want to get to that, but what I want to start with and get your opinion on.
This is like the war on Christmas right now. I mean, how could you even say such a thing? There's nothing more sacred. There's no more sacred night of the year. And you're suggesting that something's wrong?
What I'm trying to do is protect Christmas right now. What I think the show's doing is they're saying happy holidays to me. And I want a Merry Christmas, damn it. Say Merry Christmas to me.
I see where you're coming from. I'm eager to hear about it.
Well,
but hometowns taketh, hometowns giveth. It really goes both ways on hometowns, and that's what makes it important.
Well, that's what makes hometowns. And what I think we're seeing develop a little bit, and this has always been the case, but it's something that we haven't focused a lot on. We always talk about the blessing, right? The blessing is just so crucial. It's so vital. But we always focus on the inter-family blessing. What we see during hometowns is the intra-family blessing. And I don't think we talk about that enough. Do you think that we we give short shrift to the intra-family blessing?
Well, perhaps. I think on a season of The Bachelorette, it's a little bit different, and we can't ignore these differences. We can't act like The Bachelor and The Bachelorette are the same show. On The Bachelor, the inter-family blessing takes on much more importance, and I think you'll agree. On The Bachelorette, it's much more about the intra-family blessing. So that's a distinction that maybe you're not paying enough attention to.
So you're saying that the chances of the contestants' families not giving an inter-family blessing are lower on The Bachelorette than on The Bachelor.
I think we know that. I think we know that to be the case. I think.
Well, look, we know a lot about this show, to be fair. Do the people listening know? That's the question. We're here to educate them. Do they know that?
That's all we can do. So let's talk about some specific examples. It was a really bittersweet hometowns. I found it very, very illustrative when Harrison sat Des down at the end of the evening before the cocktail party. He said to her, "Some part of you must wish that one of these hometown dates was just a disaster and it would make it easier." And Des said, "You know what? It really wouldn't make it easier." And I found myself thinking, why wouldn't it make it easier? It strikes me that you just send the person that was a disaster home. It would be much easier. That didn't happen tonight. I think, while I'm not saying it was unpredictable that Zach got sent home, Zach made a good showing.
He was really strong, but you knew from the beginning he wasn't going to make it. He wasn't going to win. You picked up on this. I don't need to say it to you. I know you saw it. The kiss on the cheek during the introduction, the Des sort of avoided the lip-on-lip kiss. You could have just ended the episode right there. Now, to be fair to Zach, what followed was about as good of a job as he could have done to make up for the fact that she wouldn't kiss him on the mouth when they met each other. But it's not enough. You can't overcome a woman's unwillingness to kiss you on the mouth. How is she going to marry you? How is she going to accept your promise ring if she won't even kiss you on the mouth?
You better throw a perfect game after not getting a kiss on the mouth. And Zach didn't quite do that. He was very good, but there were a couple problems with his game. One was the dream explanation, which, as best I could tell, began with the two of them melting into the sand on a beach before eating ice chips. Then children appeared. All that was missing was a tree falling on his best friend in the dream.
Let me ask you this. Has anyone ever said the phrase, "You were in my dream last night," and then you were actually interested in what they had to say after they said that? Has anyone ever told you an interesting dream they had?
The only time that something like that might pique your interest is if you thought it was something of a romantic nature, and the person who had the dream was someone you were interested in romantically. That's the only scenario where you could possibly be interested. But you see, Zach didn't play that the right way. First of all, we knew right away from the kiss on the cheek that she wasn't romantically interested. But also, he started in with a very elaborate description of the two of them basically melting like the witch and the Wizard of Oz into the beach. And there you lost her. You just lost her immediately. Make up a dream. You'd be better off.
Make up a family tragedy. Even better.
Make up a family tragedy, then follow up with a romantic dream.
Or
that's how you have to play that.
Make up a family tragedy, follow up with a dream about the family tragedy. A nightmare, even.
There were a number of ways to go. He went the wrong way. And, that was one flaw in his game. And the other one, I think, although I found it somewhat charming, the family song in the living room. Is she going to look back on a hometown's date, and is she going to say, "I'll never forget when Zach's brother and sister sang Off Key to Me in their family's living room"? No, she's not going to say that. She's hoping to get through that. I mean, what it really made me think about is, I want to do that for my kids. I want to, when they become interested in somebody, maybe I want to steer the relationship in a certain direction. I'm just going to sing to them. They're going to come over. I'm going to sing. I'm going to get Mrs. Artistry to sing. We're going to sing to them about what they mean to our family, and then we'll see where that goes.
What are you going to sing?
Well, that's relatively unimportant. I'm just going to sing about them, to them, in front of Little Artistry and Artistrette.
But I think it's crucial to know what you're going to sing.
Well, it's going to be about that person. It's going to be
But is it going to be to the
tune?
I mean, if you want to carry a key, what I'm getting at is that you only know so many songs. You've only sung so many songs. And a lot, do you sing something you know? Do you sing something that you've heard at synagogue? Do you sing? Do I do
an original song?
Do you write an original song, or do you sing like Bim Bum to them?
Right.
Ein Keloheinu. You break something like that out and just change the words.
I could do a medley.
You could get the rabbi over. You could get the cantor over. You could do pretty much anything. But the point is, they're not going to like it. Whether your kids like it is one thing. They might think, here goes Dad again. He's being embarrassing, or even if they like it, the suitor's not going to like it.
So I don't want to harp on the Zach situation too long, because I think we know the chemistry wasn't there.
He's old news. Old news.
Do you see any potential for him as the next Bachelor? Do you think that the ring toss at the end was like his effort to really like drive the point home? Do you think that may be sealed? At least people thinking about him as a possibility for the next Bachelor.
I think he'd come into the next Bachelor walls down, which is you're always looking for in a Bachelor. But I don't think he is going to be attractive enough. He's not a big enough prize for all the contestants.
The first group date could be just take him back to that area and try to find that ring. See who can find that ring.
It's going to be a self-selecting first rose ceremony. I think you could have 10 women just leave at the first cocktail party.
You don't think he's a winning enough candidate?
I think that some people are going to find him okay, but others are going to just be like, I'm not really that into it. And then maybe they stay on the show for, God forbid, the wrong reasons. They try to stay on the show to become the next Bachelorette. Like, I worry that Zach, as the Bachelor, really becomes an audition for the next Bachelorette.
that's not a bad point. Another guy that I'm really not crazy about, and I know that there might be a sentiment out there that he's like a flawless guy. I just don't see it that way. I find Drew really grating. How do you feel about Drew?
He's rigid. I don't think he's genuine. I think he's very serious. He takes everything too seriously. When he tries to joke, it comes off as very forced. It's like he's one of those guys who probably Googles jokes before he goes on a date and then just runs through those at dinner, like at awkward times. I don't think he has any natural like personality that comes out. And, I see him as the obvious goner in Fantasy Suite Week. And to be honest, I don't even know he's going to get the overnight card.
He's so not manly. Everything Drew says sounds like a plaintive cry for help. He's like a whimperer. He's like a whiner. Just man up, Drew, a little bit.
You know what I found to be lacking in this episode was a little more explanation of what was going on with Mal and Linda, Drew's parents. They set this up like this is the first time Mal has been over to Linda's house. And that's all we saw of it. I mean, Mal was a really impressive guy. Mal was a guy.
Malachi, he's a soulful dude.
Right. He has a very soothing voice. He sounds like the homeless guy who's the Kraft mac and cheese announcer.
Yeah.
He was a very impressive guy, but, what happened with him and Linda? I mean, we had those two old folks in Atlantic City earlier in this season. Harry and, whatever that woman's name was. I don't think his name was Harry, but...
I don't remember.
Saul and Esther. But, Mal and Linda, what happened to them? Because how is she supposed to love Drew if she doesn't know what happened to Mal and Linda? It could happen to her.
Yeah, you have to think they addressed that, behind the scenes. It just wasn't television friendly. But have you ever seen an angel? No, I haven't. Yes, you have. You have to admit that was. But what was interesting? That was a righteous line by Malachi.
Malachi is a man of great ability, great oratory ability, unlike his son. But what you have to respect or not respect, depending on your point of view, is that he first said, "Do you believe in angels?" And Des said yes, like with no hesitation. He's like, "Yes, I believe in angels," which I think like 90% of the country believes in angels,
at least.
So, do you believe in angels?
If you want to marry this girl, I'm going to throw a party. I'm giving you my blessing. Has anybody ever given a more direct, forthright, unabashed blessing than Mal? I mean, he was like, you're not going to have to interpret this. You can put away the blessing tree. I'm just telling you right now, you're getting a full-on blessing.
I've never seen something like that. It's one of the best. It's one of the most authoritative, clear. This is what it is. Blessings. Like, yes, go for it. 100% all in. Family's behind you. I don't care what Linda's new husband. I have his name down here somewhere. It's like Kevin or Bob. Bob. What if Bob doesn't? Mal's blessing is so tight, so complete. Right. That Linda and Bob, it doesn't even matter at that point.
It's almost like we need to add a chapter to our book and the blessing chapter and just put a picture of Mal.
It was a great blessing.
He embodies the blessing. Where
there wasn't as clear of a blessing was with Chris's family. It was a little more work to pull out a blessing, but we still ended up getting it. But you know where I'm going with this. Chris's big flaw was what he wore when they were on the softball field.
I have the same note. Don't try to pull a Roberto with no uniform.
Exactly.
Absolutely, it's just uncalled for.
He's wearing like an Old Navy baseball shirt.
Terrible.
$7.99. If you played baseball, pull out the real uniform. It's just nothing. It's worthless. It looked terrible. If you have the goods, use them. It's like if Sully showed up in like a Halloween costume of a pilot. instead of his
Right.
real pilot outfit.
Right.
You don't do that. You throw out your advantage.
Are you authentic or are you playing dress up?
At this point, I'm wondering, did he even play minor league baseball? What proof do we have that he played minor league baseball?
The eye black, that's not going to do it. That's meaningless.
Eye black is nothing. It's the uniform. You put on the uniform.
See, the problem with Chris, I'm just going to break this down for you. He's too gimmicky, and now he's got Dez drawing sketches for him in response to his – I mean, their entire relationship may become just a constant exchange of poems and sketches. It's exhausting. Just talk to each other.
It's like they're drawing on the wall in hieroglyphics to each other, like the inside of their teepee. They're just like writing words and symbols and pictures to each other.
Yeah, and he also had the weirdest family. Like, the dad is like, I want to talk to you about my son, but first I'm going to put my hands all over you.
Yeah, I'm going to rub you. I'm going to rub her. I'm going to stick balloons up your nose and shoot helium in your brain.
What was he doing to his poor son? I mean, I've never seen anything like that. What the heck was that?
He was adjusting his nose.
Yeah, getting the nasal specific, is it better than the blessing? Yeah, I'm going to talk to you about this girl while giving you the nasal specific.
What is it? That's what it's called, the nasal specific? The
nasal specific. Where does that fit on the hierarchy of blessings? Getting the nasal specific.
Well, it would mean more had he given Dez the nasal specific. And that, giving someone the nasal specific sounds like one of those weird sex things. It's like, what'd you do? You met this girl at a bar. It's like, what'd you guys do? It's like, oh, I gave her the nasal specific.
I'll tell you what would be at the top of the blessing hierarchy. I'm going to give both of you the nasal specific at the same time. I'm going to double nasal specific you. You can't have a greater honor than that in that family.
But I think the point that we take away from this is that this stuff doesn't last forever. Like, at some point, the bloom is off the rose with the nasal specific. Like, if every morning your husband's if you're a woman and every morning your husband's waking you up and he's sticking a balloon up your nose and he's reading you poetry, he's saying it's time for your nasal specific. I mean, it's just... It's not. It doesn't last forever. It's like it's very much like when they go on these dates and they start dancing in the rain. Right. It doesn't. How often are you going to do that once you're married?
Yeah. How often can you walk through a city and make small talk with the locals and then make out against a stone wall? It's just not going to happen all the time.
Right. Some guys sitting on the cobblestone playing a banjo. Really, you're just arguing about dinner reservations and someone's feet hurt. So is the relationship between Dez and Brooks, is that the most realistic relationship, and that every day is painfully boring yet they're still in love? I am totally...
Explain what they're going for. I just don't understand it.
I'm flummoxed. I'm confused. I don't understand what she sees in Brooks, and I don't understand how, when she's holding the framed pictures before the rose ceremony to make her final decision, I don't understand how she doesn't see Brooks in that jean jacket and say, what am I doing? Like, she needs someone to come on there and sit her down and say, look, Des, this guy's wearing a whitewashed jean jacket in this picture. Get out now.
It's sort of shades of Hef. I mean, it's another Utah guy. It's like, the big Utah family. I don't know what it is with the Mormons and the Bachelor, but they appear to be kind of into it. Am I reading too much into this? I mean, and they do well. They do very, very well. It
might be that all of the Mormons on the show own land in Utah the size of Rhode Island. Does everyone in Utah have, an entire gigantic estate? Or do they just pick the richest people in Utah to come on the show? Maybe she's attracted to that. We know she grew up of meager means. Maybe she's attracted to these guys who have basically the entire West at their disposal.
It's her Prince Charming. The other thing that I found notable about the Brooks date, it's her family members were asking the toughest questions about their relationship, and by tough I just mean like normal questions you would ask if your brother or son were about to marry somebody he met on national television like 6 weeks ago, and all of the questions that they were asking, I was thinking like so obviously like the light bulb was going to go off in Brooks's head, and he's going to be like this is the wrong move for me. Like, I shouldn't be doing this. They're asking, like, can you live without her? If she, like, disappeared all of a sudden, would you feel like you couldn't possibly go on in your life? I'm thinking there's no way Brooks could be thinking, I can't live without her. That doesn't make any sense. Of course he's thinking he can live without her. So I'm thinking, the light bulb's going to go off. And then the one brother with the really red face asks, can you make her happy for the rest of her life? How does he know? He has no idea what is going to make her happy. I mean, you would think that when you're getting hit with these questions in this context, you would realize this is totally nuts. I've got to abandon ship immediately. But no, Brooke seems more comfortable, not less comfortable.
If you can't hit your marks when they're putting it up on a tee for you like that, you really have no business being there. And it just proves that his walls are way up, and they have to come down. It's getting very, very late in the season to still have your walls up. And so when he gets in the kayak with her and he describes the feeling as comfortable, I mean, that's just a physical observation. Like, yeah, the seat has padding. It's very comfortable.
Right, you could be on the couch. Right.
Right. It has to be more than that. It has to be magical. It has to be special. You have to envision that this is what the rest of your life is going to be like. If all it is comfortable, then what are you doing there? And this is the only tension remaining. Is Brooks in it to win it?
At the very least, you have to be like, I want to make love to this comfortable seat. And he's not even saying that. He's just saying it's a comfortable seat.
Right. I don't see it with Brooks. I don't think he's going to win. I said it last week. I don't think they reveal her supposed love and affection for Brooks if it's going to just be a layup down the stretch. I think
we're too accustomed to this. I mean, we've seen this too many times before. We're not going to fall for this.
There's a lot of bacheloring left. I mean, there's a lot of bacheloring left to go.
This stuff doesn't get telegraphed. It doesn't get telegraphed. It's not obvious. It never is. They're not in the business of doing like the double, fool you. They're not going to be like, this is person who's going to be the winner, so you won't think they're going to win, and therefore they're going to win. They're not that sophisticated. All they know how to do is the single feints. They send you one direction, they go the other. They're not going to do the double feint.
They keep it simple, and as a viewer, you just got to keep your own composure. You can't get pulled in all these different directions. I want to go, before we sign off, I want to say two quick things. I was talking earlier about the things I don't like about hometowns. I think they're starting to mix the I love yous with the hometowns. Where
right.
It's like, what is this week supposed to be about? It's supposed to be about hometowns, right? So
yeah.
Why is it now consumed with who's saying I love you and when? Doesn't it seem almost like too much to handle in just 1 week?
Do you think that traditionally the I love yous come on fantasy suite night
or before hometowns? What I'm saying is I think that those concepts need to be separated.
It's just too much in 1 week.
It's too much for us to process. It's too much for them to process. I think maybe you could go in a really crazy direction and just have an I love you week. Like squeeze it in instead of the men tell all, between hometowns and fantasy suite night, you just go with an I love you week. And it's just, make it an hour. Make it an hour I love you special. And
yeah, that's not a bad concept. You gotta really be comfortable, like Brooks obviously is, to think that you can sustain your momentum without saying I love you. If the Bachelorette is more into you than you're into her, if you can last another week without saying it, if there's an I love you week slotted before hometowns and you're a guy like Brooks, can you get through the I love you week without saying I love you, and then get through hometowns without saying I love you? That
all I know is he's not getting through Fantasy Suite week without saying I love you. We can agree on that.
I think we can agree on that. It's a big week, and you know, the other wonderful thing about hometowns and why it's such a special time of year is it really does precede a vacation. We're not going right into Fantasy Suite week. We're going into the Men Tell All. And we have a little bit of time to digest what's gone on and gear up for the Fantasy Suites. What do you see happening? Do you see Dez as someone like our friend last year? What was her name?
Emily.
Yeah, like Emily, who is going to defer any relations until much later on? Or do you see Dez as someone who's going to sample the goods?
Like an Ashley.
Someone like an Ashley.
I think she's going to sample the goods. I really do. I think she's not going to see enough from Brooks. I think Brooks is going to still have walls up, and I think she's going to have to take down the proverbial walls with some of the other guys as a plan B.
Well, that's really something to look forward to. I can't even have...
You know who's not looking forward to it? Is Dez's brother, who, it is my theory, has an enormous crush on his sister. And
they may not even be related. It's possible they're not related.
He might be madly in love. I think he's madly in love with his sister. And if he got an overnight card, I think he would try to offer up his goods for sampling.
That's not a bad theory. Anything could happen. I think that's what we're meant to think. I think it's true. He's going to interfere. He's going to interfere with some fantasy suite get together, and it could get ugly. But I just think we need to really bask in the glory of hometowns right now. Take some time to just soak it in, everybody. It only comes along once a year or twice a year. Once for the Bachelor, once for the Bachelorette. This is a very special time. And I think we're going to sign off now and just spend some time together just talking about hometowns. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Until next time, the Big Kibbits.
Time to kibbits, time to kibbits, time to kibbits. It's the big kibbits. Come and kibitz with the big kibbits. Ooh, big kibbits. It's the big kibbits. Come and kibitz with the big kibbits.